So you got to make sure to go back and re-download episode 504. Whoops.
Yeah, I had a whoopsie. Apologize. Thanks to Vidar in the email and Yannick and on Mastodon, Dan and Matrix, everybody that pointed it out to us. I apologize. I messed up 501 with 504.
Yeah.
I mean, somehow my brain went to the wrong place.
I'm telling you, 4 and 1, if you're just glancing at it, super similar.
The figures, they can be, they're formed somewhat similar, yeah.
Whoopsie.
It's my fault. I sort things differently sometimes, and my brain went to the top one, which was
top 1.
501,
right.
Obviously, because it's sorted by name instead of the latest thing that I just put there, which would have been 504. So I uploaded the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And additionally, I just, when I upload them into Fireside, I look to make sure that there's an actual audio file there, and it comes up with the little squiggly lines on Fireside. And I saw all those, and I thought, oh, that's great. And I never listened to it in the preview thing because it lets you preview it, and I did not do that.
I could have pushed the play button too. And
yep.
Anyway, so if you might be having a case of deja vu, and you're like, I think I've heard this before.
You probably are.
Delete the episode in your podcast app and re-download it. You can verify this by going to linuxuserspace.show/504. Hit the play button and listen to the first couple seconds. If it sounds familiar, you heard it. But if it doesn't, if that's new to you, hey, surprise, there's a whole episode for you waiting. Yay!
Yeah. And if you watch us on YouTube or some other place, then, well, you're probably okay. Coming up in this episode, 2B or Y292B. Set your watch to Mozilla. And we finally get back to you. Whew. Hello and welcome to Linux User Space. I'm Dan.
And I'm Leo. Well, Ubuntu did it to us. We were out here showcasing Ubuntu. We're doing the snap thing. We're going into the history. But they had to go do this thing where our video that shows you how to get app images to work on Ubuntu's, because they got rid of libfuse 2 by default.
Right. Yep.
They broke it.
Well, again, twice now. But it's not really just Ubuntu. I mean, the thing comes from Debian into Ubuntu, so
let me have this. I'm just gonna be mad at Ubuntu.
Well, that's fine. You can get upset there. Really? So they renamed the file or the app, the package. It was libfuse 2.
Right.
That was the one you needed. Now you need libfuse 2 T64.
That's right. So in older Ubuntu's, if like 2204, if you're still on something that old, it's apt install libfuse 2 or sudo apt install libfuse 2, and then boom, app images work. You can double click on them again and everything. In 2404 and beyond, you have to add a T64 to the end of it. So libfuse 2 T64. Install that package instead, and everything will work, right? You can double click on them.
Off to Appimage land again. Yep.
Well, I had the question. Why change the name and break all of our hard work? Why would you do that?
The answer is 2038 is coming soon.
Is it, though? It's 2020.
I mean, it's soon enough, I guess.
It's 2020, not 38 is what it is.
Right. Well, when you think about it, so these things are supported for 10, 12 years, right? So let's do a little math. We're getting really close there. When you add, 20, 34, 36. I mean, we're approaching the 38 mark by the time the end of life actually happens. So we got to prepare for it real soon.
Right. So Ubuntu 2404 has its 5 years of regular support, but also
Right.
has 7 years, if I'm not mistaken, of extended
That's
support, security
right.
patches, basically. But that doesn't put it to 2038. That puts it to
Yeah.
20. I can't math.
36.
30. Okay, right. 30.
So it's close, right? It's 2 years off of that. So we really do kind of got to prepare real soon.
Well,
now,
didn't they just
in a way.
extend one of their super old Ubuntus to go
They
beyond
did,
15 years?
And so if you're not
They're
preparing for it,
predicting.
they're thinking it could be a thing. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
And who knows how many people actually, I mean, run those things beyond where you're supposed to.
Right.
There's plenty of those people out there too. So
I guess so.
Let's
True.
not break everything. So yeah, what's happening here is it's 32-bit time versus 64-bit time. And so the 32-bit time basically only takes you out to 2038.
The way that it works is, so on January 1st, 1970 is when we started counting, right?
Right.
And we are counting, these computers are counting by seconds. And there are, in a 32-bit integer, in a number, you could have approximately 4 billion, right? You can count up to about 4 billion-ish. It's more than that, but I mean, 4 billion.
Yeah. You got to have some reserved and whatnot, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So when you count seconds from January 1st, 1970, all the way up to 4 billion, you run out eventually. And it turns out that running out is in 2038. Like, so there are just no more seconds to be counted because we've run out of room. We can't fit it in a 32-bit integer. We have to get bigger than that. And there's a conversation to be had about signed and unsigned integers, but that's not the point. 2038, just that's when we run out. So the answer was to just I want to say double it, but it's not doubling it. We're talking exponential.
No, it's more than exponentially because it's 64-bit now.
Right.
All right. I mean, all the machines are 64-bit for the most part. I mean, that's pretty much the only thing supported anymore.
Right.
Certainly in Ubuntu land, anyway.
Exactly. So if you remember Y2K, it's that problem all over again, right? So we had the 2 digits, right? You got to 99, and then it's like, what do we do? It's 2000. The computers will not understand. And I mean, it's true. Like, developers did a whole lot of hard work to make sure that, you know, computers didn't die. Did a great job.
Even if they didn't die, there were things that actually, said 1900 versus 2000.
Right. Exactly. So 2038 is it's the next time.
Yeah, it's the next one.
We're going to run out.
Yep.
So yeah, Dan, you said the fix was to go to a 64-bit integer instead.
Right.
And that's a lot. It's a lot more than you might think.
It is a lot. It's really going to kick the can far enough down there that we'll never have to deal with it. I mean, that's definite. That's a for sure thing.
Exactly. So we did a little bit of math. Turns out a 64-bit integer, the number in seconds, the calculator wouldn't show me. So
no,
convert it to years. It's about 292 billion years worth of
from
seconds.
Now.
Yeah. That you can count. And, honestly, Dan, from 1970, honestly, you zoom out far enough, you can't even tell.
It's like, what's the difference, right? It's like a fraction of a percent kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So in 292 billion years, we'll have to revisit this problem and fix it again.
I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. Dan, me and you will be okay. We'll be long gone.
We'll be totally out of here.
Oh, man. Yep. Yeah. So, how many generations is that? Will humans still be around? I don't know. But I guess if you're kicking the can down the road, this is the right amount of that's the right power to kick it down that far.
Just for context, I think one prediction was that's like 20 lifetimes of the universe. Something like that.
Whoa.
So 20 universes from now, we'll be there.
Okay, so we're talking like heat death of the sun,
and start all over again and do it again 20 times.
So if we haven't left the galaxy long ago, our computers may not even exist anymore because they've been vaporized by a supernova or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess when we land in Tatooine or someplace like that, then
So dry, and the milk is blue. What?
I know, or maybe it's Hoth. Maybe that's where we'll end up. I'm not sure.
Okay, that's very cold.
Pretty cold.
I can, as long as I can snuggle up inside of animals, we're good to go, right?
Yeah. Have your tauntaun handy.
Oh no! Oh, he was so cute.
Yeah.
All right, so we had Y2K. I think the Linux epoch, this 2038 issue, has been dubbed Y2K38, but there is no name for the 292 billion one. So I humbly submit for the approval of our listeners, and if it is to be approved, I would like proliferation of this term, Y292B. That's the next cliff that no one alive today will ever see.
So we better write it down because, that'll be the only thing that survives probably.
Yeah, civilizations
possibly
long into the future will find Y292B and wonder
be like, what
that ever meant.
Why were they ever worrying about that?
Well, they would, because one of them would be like, I run Arch.
Yeah.
And now, a word from our sponsors. Us. So that's YouTube. Well, okay, I guess we sponsor ourselves, right? And our patrons sponsor us.
Us, yeah.
So, yeah, and so in return, we give you all of this. We give you Y292B.
Yeah, we do.
Right? That's it, right? That's what you get in return for all of the assistance you give us. But you can watch how we come up with all of this stuff over on YouTube, right? LinuxUserspace.show/YouTube. You'll find our channel. You can also find the educational bits, which I'm leaning toward putting the AppImage one out on Tilvids because it's educational in two ways, right? It
sure
tells you how to do the AppImage thing, but it also explains Linux epoch time. And
that's pretty good. Yeah, I think that's important.
Edutainmentally enough?
I believe.
We'll see. So Tilvids.
We'll see if it flies. I like it.
Go check out Tilvids, linuxuserspace.show/Tilvids. You can find us over there and all of our educational stuff, edutainmental stuff. Pretty much all the histories and any kind of insightful things that we've got. But, of course, you can sponsor us. This is really what we carved out the time for over on Patreon. So patreon.com/linuxuserspace or linuxuserspace.show/Patreon and sign up any tier, free tier if you want.
Yeah, be part of the community. Sign up for the free tier.
That's right, and you still get the at least the headline announcements for everything else. But don't forget that signing up for $1 gets you a Lemmy account. Signing up for $3 gets you early access to the audio and a high quality audio feed.
Yeah.
Signing up at the $5 tier gets you everything. Me and Dan were talking for an hour before all this.
Yeah, we did actually.
Yeah, so $5 tier gets you that entire conversation, the show itself, and anything, all the debrief, the 10, 20, 30-minute debrief at the end of a show when we're taking that deep breath saying, oh, we're done.
It's time for food and drink.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Really, yeah, I'm recording this, and then I'm going to go eat. So, yeah, that's usually what it is. I got to go eat now. I smell food.
Yep.
And at the $10 tier, you get all of that, but the video version too. So you can watch our absolutely amazing and pristine facial expressions all throughout that pre-show, the actual show, and the post-show, all wrapped up into one little video.
And plus all the bleeps and bloops that are in between things where we mess up. Sometimes that happens. It's usually one take show, so you'll be amazed.
Yeah, a lot of it.
What's in between, but there's a couple things sometimes.
That's right. Well, a lot of the stuff ends up on the. Well, I say a lot, like not a lot, but some of that stuff ends up on the cutting room floor, right? Yeah. So sometimes we go a little long, and you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it, but we can talk. And sometimes
that's been known to happen a time or two,
maybe once. But sometimes those topics go a little bit long, and 5-10 minutes of it gets left out just to make the show the right size, and you
Or
get
close up
that.
to the right size.
Yep. So $5 and $10 tiers get that content as well.
Yep.
So
So you
anyway,
don't miss anything.
that's right. Every little bit. So if you haven't signed up on Patreon, do so, and we can get some of that cool stuff to you. It's time for Mozilla Watch.
I'm watching.
Oh, are we? Okay, let's talk about the good thing.
My watch is set.
Oh, nice. So let's talk about the good thing. There's a good thing going on.
Yeah, there is a good thing
over here. And okay, good is relative. If you hate the word AI, skip maybe 5 minutes ahead, because then we've got another Mozilla topic that's not AI related. But this one I think is a good topic. I think this is really where there are a good few use cases for AI that I think are good. And this is one of them, right? So
yeah, absolutely. This is probably one of the best uses, I feel like. Yeah.
Mozilla included in Firefox 130 an automatic alt text generator for PDF images. So images in a PDF that do not come with alt text already baked into it, Firefox will generate some of that stuff for you on the fly, right? And while I know it's not perfect and it's AI, which makes it even less perfect, I'm in the camp that says some alt text is better than here's an image, we're just not going to tell you what's in it.
Right.
I think it's better to have something than nothing.
I totally agree, because sometimes there are things that the text doesn't really match what you were trying to portray in an image.
Right.
And having that alt text be at least available gets you pointed in the right direction. Even if it's a little bit off, it would kind of give you an idea of where it's going.
Yeah. And that generator needs to be improved, right? And the only way to improve AI stuff, because, garbage in, garbage out, right? The only way to improve AI stuff is to have humans involved. And so Mozilla's putting out a call, help. If you can help, if you can take a look at some of the alt text that's been generated on that stuff and actually help improve that. Like, that's close, but not quite right. Here's how we can fix that. Really just human review. This is the way that they put it. They want to encourage human review so that our users can correct inaccuracies and include any missing details before saving the alt text. So it's really just a way to make what's okay better.
And that's exactly one of the best ways to deploy AI, I feel like, is we all know it's not going to be perfect. And
far from it.
It really does take the humans. And so if we can speed up things, and by getting it, kind of close, and then we give it a little bit of a tweak, I think that's exactly where the humans come into these things.
Right.
And give it that verification, so that it is a lot more accurate. And the more of that you do, it's going to train those models, if you will, and give it the good info so that it can help do it by itself going forward.
Right.
So I think this is a good approach to something that AI can help with.
Exactly. So yeah, would it be better if only humans did that? Yes. But there are not enough humans and not enough eyes and not enough hands and not enough.
Right.
There's just not enough. And I mean, asking someone to do that on the fly every single time is just, it's not possible.
Yeah, it's that trade-off. Yeah, yep. Time or accuracy.
Right.
Somehow we can meet in the middle, right?
Exactly. And I've been thinking about this a whole lot, actually. Just in general, right? Because I'm doing the whole HTML CSS thing, and turns out that it's really easy to add alt text to images in raw HTML. That's actually fairly easy to do. And I recently made a joke on the internet. Sometimes, right? And it was just a post on Blue Sky and Mastodon, and it was, got it, first try. And it was an image of me restarting Apache 2, getting into the Apache 2 configuration, restarting, getting into the configuration, restarting, getting into the, right? Obviously, I did not get it the first try. But
first time, every time.
Yeah. But I was thinking about the alt text on that, right? And that I could have just typed exactly what's in the image.
Yeah, but that's not what you were trying to portray.
Exactly. And I just sat back and imagined, what would that even sound like? And you probably would have turned off the screen reader by the time the joke ever became apparent, right?
A joke, yeah.
Right. So in the alt text, it was actually a summary, not really a summary of the joke, but it was a better explanation of what was in the image rather than every single character in the image to make the joke more apparent to someone that couldn't see the image. Right?
Right. Yeah, because it was supposed to be an image, not just text, because you would have just dumped the text in there if that was what you were trying to do.
Exactly. No alt text required on that one. But again, you wouldn't have even read the whole, what do you call a post on Blue Sky? A
post?
I don't, yeah, okay. A post. How boring. It's more than just random words on a thing. And I think that's where the human element is going to come in to help train those AI things to get a little bit better. Because something in my mind is better than nothing. So if we can make the something a little bit better, it's not perfect, but if we can make it a little bit better, I think it's worth the effort to try.
I agree. I totally agree.
Well,
here's the sad news.
Yeah, here's some other news. Buried in other news. I guess today was a really good day to post this because it'd get buried by other news. But The Verge writes, Mozilla is eliminating its advocacy division, which fought for a free and open web. The Mozilla Foundation laid off 30% of its workforce in late October. Huh.
That's a lot.
Yeah, LReg did a little bit of back of the napkin math and came up with, they're guessing the Mozilla Foundation has about 126 employees. So that means that 30% of them would be approximately 36 people, right? Like, and again, grain of salt, we don't actually know those numbers.
No, but it seems like it puts them a little under 100 as far as probably where their employee count is now.
There it is. So there we go. Everybody, job done. For those that said,
you won.
Yep. For those that said Mozilla just needs to worry about Firefox, congratulations. There you go. There's
the only people that are left, they're going to have to worry about Firefox, huh?
Yeah, you got what you wanted. So they did come back and say, Mozilla came back and say that advocacy is still going to happen, right? Like the people that are getting laid off.
It's a core foundation to their cause.
Their manifesto, right? It's in the manifesto. Advocacy is part of their manifesto. So that is not going away. But I can't help but think that it's going to be severely hampered.
It's going to chip away at it. There's no question. It almost has to a little bit when you don't have the same number of people.
And I've always kind of viewed Mozilla when they write those blog posts, when they do the work that they do, when they advocate for stuff like that. They're I know it's not the EFF, but it's, in my mind, they fill the same kind of space.
Yeah.
Because it always does tend to, at least to me, seem like they're always looking for a more free, more open web.
Well, I think it helps support the product that we use by issuing those things.
Right.
It backs up the reasoning behind some of the decisions. Certainly, that's a good thing. But it's going to be a hard road without having the same number of people working there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what this is really in response to. I do wonder if they're thinking that sweet Google Cache ain't going to be coming through anymore, and they're just kind of they're slimming down to prepare for that, to prepare for however else they're going to make money. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's concerning, but sure.
Yeah. And I am curious. I am kind of curious how Mozilla as a company is meant to make money. Because anytime it seems to me, right, they acquire Anonym to do privacy respecting advertisement or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or even make the deal with Google, right? I mean, you're getting in bed with Google, right? There are plenty of people that don't really like that is the direction that they're going, right?
Yeah.
I do wonder, for those that are unhappy with the ways that Mozilla is trying to make money, how else? Because I can't imagine a ton of their revenue is coming from Firefox Relay. Can't imagine a lot of their money is coming from the VPN either. And these,
they just get kickbacks on that, right? They don't really. It's Mulvad.
Mulvad, right? Yeah, and so they get a fraction or some whatever of
tiny bits. Yeah,
right. And these are services that I think are the types of services that people that use Firefox, right? Because there's only a few
go
of
with
us.
Your browser, right? I mean, if you got a browser, maybe you want a VPN. I mean, they go together.
Yeah. So how else? What is left?
What can you do? I mean, let's not go the other proprietary corporate ways where they charge you annual or monthly fees for using the stuff, because I mean, they'd all have to do that. But I mean, that's the way some software is actually funded, right? Is you pay for it directly.
Right.
And I don't think that doesn't seem like the likely way to go, because there's nothing there that they could do that with.
So I guess that leads to a couple of different questions, right? One of them is, are you afraid of a browser monoculture? Meaning,
well, we almost have it now.
Right, we're very close. I mean, what is Firefox? Something like 5% of the web.
Small. Right?
Yeah, it is a small fraction of the amount of the browsers that are using the web, and the vast majority is not just a Chromium, but Chrome itself. And then the rest are just Chromium offshoots: Vivaldi, Brave, Opera, I think, right? Or do they use their own engine?
Yeah, Opera, Vivaldi, they're all
right. And then of course Edge for Windows. And for Linux, you can use it on Linux. That's totally cool too, right? Apparently,
you can.
So are we afraid of a browser monoculture like that? Are we okay with Chromium?
I don't know about okay with it, but I think it's happening.
Yeah. Right. It is certainly happening. There's no mistaking that is the way that things are going. But I guess I'd like to know, are you okay with that? If Firefox, I mean, continues on this downward trend, if Firefox eventually just fizzles out and goes away, then are you okay with just moving over to a Chromium and it would be okay with you? So, yeah, let us know.
I'd use what I had to use, but okay, I don't know. Yeah, I'm curious to hear what other people think too.
Yeah, definitely let us know. This is something I'd like to talk about a little bit more. And, bonus question is, how do you think Firefox could make money?
Yeah.
Because apparently they need all the help they can get. Well,
I think anybody does that's developing software. They need a revenue stream. Yeah. You got to pay the developers.
Right. And so right now there's no way to directly fund Firefox. You fund Mozilla, who then decides where that money goes, and that may or may not be Firefox, right? I've seen that argument over the web a little bit.
They have some overhead and administrative charges that they pay for.
Yeah, some salaries, whatever. But the question I had in mind when I said I have two questions. First is the monoculture question. Are you okay with that? But the second is, if Firefox went to a purely funded model, would you pay to use Firefox? Monthly cost, yearly cost, something like that. I don't know how much that would be. What do you think would be fair? But would you pay for Firefox to use it, to continue to use it, to be a bulwark, a bastion against monoculture? That, I think, may be the only other way, besides finding some good funding, right? Finding some way, some service, something to give to people that they actually want to pay for. Would you pay for Firefox itself?
Yeah, or you go full on evil and you insert advertising into things.
Well, right, and that's kind of
because that's an option.
They're not injecting advertisements or anything like that, but they are sort of going down that road with Anonym, right? Which is
right, but I meant like actually.
Oh, you
putting
mean the
them-
Brave model?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that one's
Well,
rough.
I mean, it's a funding source. I didn't say it was a good idea. I just
True.
said that's a way to make
That
money,
is-
whether you like it or not. It's a thing.
You are correct. The ick factor is real on that one, though.
Oh, it's high.
Yeah. But, right, like, so I think, you can buy ad space from Google or you can buy it from Mozilla/Anonym, right? You get less personal data from Anonym
Yep.
because they explicitly don't have it.
Right.
I can't see a world
Maybe it's
where...
better? I don't know.
I mean, it's better for us, but if
Yeah.
if we always did what was best for the user, then we would live in a utopia, right? I mean, Google wouldn't exist
Right.
the way that it exists if they were always
No.
putting the user's privacy and security and, personal information first.
Right.
It very much is they'll pay for it, so we'll gather it kind of attitude. And that is explicitly not what Anonym is.
Right.
So I can't really imagine a world where Anonym truly wins, because you're going up against a Google that has that information, and that information is valuable, and people obviously will pay for that information.
Yeah. It lets them target things a little closer to the end where they need to be. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, certainly there's a whole contingent of people that are just, all advertisement is evil. Therefore, if, getting in bed with an advertiser, even a private one, is absolutely wrong.
I didn't say it was great. Yeah.
Yeah. Advertising isn't great, but we're well past that question, that ethical conundrum of, is advertising ethical? We answered that question 30 years ago. So
with television.
Yeah. Oh, whoa. Yeah.
Radio.
Actually,
and like those things, like you go back 60, 70 years, right?
Yeah. Specifically on the internet 30 years ago. But as you're saying, you're right. We answered that question 100 years ago.
We just adapted it for the internet. Yeah.
When we started communicating, you're right. I mean, advertisement is just there. It's pervasive. It will always be there. So I think Mozilla's take on that is, well, why don't we just do it better than them? And by better, I mean better for you. Better for people.
Yeah, which is, I appreciate that they're actually doing that.
Yeah. But there's always going to be pushback against that. And I get it. I mean, I understand why. And I don't disagree with you either, honestly. If we could find a way to fund everything without advertisement, there's a good chance I would be there. But the answer to that is pay for it. And we've seen time and time again. I mean, free is the only way that it'll get used, whatever it is.
We talk about the advertising being poor, but you know what that might do? Prompt people to pay for it.
That's it.
So you want to get rid of the ads? I mean, you use the free one, you get ads.
That's it.
You want to get rid of the ads? You pay for it.
Yeah, it's the freemium model, right?
And maybe that's an approach. I didn't say I like that either, but there it is.
I mean, I actually do that, like with a lot of my applications. The WinRAR method. Maybe not the WinRAR. They were too passive with that. they just let you keep ignoring it forever. Nagware, right? I think that's what that falls under, Nagware. Yep. But you could ignore it forever, right? But the freemium model, if you think of things like Reddit, right? I don't pay for Reddit, but I did certainly pay for Apollo back in the day. When it was still a thing, the Reddit reader called Apollo. I mean, it was great software. I don't mind paying for great software. And so maybe to answer my own question about Firefox, I would pay for it. How much would I pay for it? I don't know. 99 cents a month? Maybe. Would that be enough? How many users would it take to fund development at 99 cents a month?
$12 a year? I don't know. It'd take a lot.
I mean, I can stomach $12 a year to use a browser that I like, to not have to fall into the Chromium trap, to not have to rely on companies that I trust less than Mozilla. I mean, I trust Mozilla for the most part, right? Like, I side-eye them every now and then. I mean...
But yeah, they do some things that make me go, But you're right. Yeah, for the most part, it's pretty good.
Yeah, salaries fall squarely into that category of side eye. But I do trust Mozilla more than I trust any other browser company out there, maybe besides Vivaldi. Man.
Yeah, they're really they got your you in mind as the user pretty well. I agree with that.
I might one of these days.
Which is why that's on my list of things that I do use. Yeah.
Yep. If I could buy Firefox merch and a percentage of that merch went to development of Firefox, man, you better believe I'd buy a $12 t-shirt every now and then, just to make sure that I'm repping it. As I'm the only nerd in the mall with caring about Firefox, but I would still do it, and I would know that money is going toward Firefox. That would be really, really cool. But Vivaldi has a store. Firefox doesn't have a store. Vivaldi has a store.
That's true.
I mean, I don't know, man. Some Vivaldi sweatpants or something like that. I think that might be pretty good. So I don't know.
That's cool.
Anyway, let us know what you think.
Please.
Man, rock in a hard place. Rock in a hard place.
No kidding.
But Firefox still my baby. I can't let you go yet. I can't. I won't.
So you can catch all the great links and the topics as they unfold on our Lemmy subreddit and our news channel in Discord. We try to keep up with that stuff, but life. But Leo and I have been doing pretty good lately.
Yeah,
I think we've been getting on top of that.
I got another 5 to go in tonight after we're done recording. They're already earmarked, ready to go.
Nice.
Just got to link them in there. We accidentally, I think, oopsed on Reddit. I went to go post some on Reddit, and apparently we've not been cross-posting over there for a little while.
That might be my fault.
Nope. This is both of us. Nope, don't. I won't let you shoulder that by yourself, Dan. No.
I tell you what, Lemmy just makes it easy because it does. So sometimes I actually go seek out other things on Lemmy, and I'll just cross post them into our channel.
Yeah,
and that makes it super easy, honestly.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I love that, and then obviously that gets posted directly into Discord, without much thought. Obviously,
that's right.
of what Reddit's doing. Yeah,
that's right. But yeah, so I'm getting back on the horse over there on Reddit too. So if you were one of the few people that were actually we're one of the larger groups. It's funny, like we're in the top.
I know. Well, I've been very good about posting our episodes there. That's for sure.
That always gets done. But yeah, so if you're watching us over on Reddit or watching the news feed over on Reddit, that's coming back online. But yeah, Lemmy's got the feed, man. Lemmy, this is Fediverse.
That's the place.
Stuff, man. I like it. It's just really good. It's just a big cool.
What's handy? You subscribe anywhere. You can do it on Lemmy, do it on Mastodon, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, wherever you want to be.
Big old web circle. I like it.
Mm-hmm. So catch all those things, linuxuserspace.show/ all the stuffs, and you'll find it there, and you can come talk with us, communicate, and chat about the stuff in between shows.
So we finally get back to you. Turns out, sometimes I forget to ping you outside of the show. But there's a lot of good stuff out there. There's a lot of good feedback out there.
There is.
And I don't know how this was intended to be pronounced, but Pjol is my guess. You reminded us, specifically you said, Leo, fret not. Thunderbird for iOS is coming. Ryan Lee Sipes, the Thunderbird project manager, has confirmed this on Mozilla Connect forums. And I thought this was really funny because I'm like, oh, really? So we have the project manager actually saying that I've seen some slides. Bitten, I believe, let us know in Discord that it was actually recently, within like the last month, was talked about that maybe hiring for the iOS team is coming. But I was like, really? So it's written somewhere, very public, and so I go Google it up, right? And so I'm like, Thunderbird, iOS, Mozilla Connect. And I click on that very first link. And wouldn't you know it, Pjol started the thread over there too, back in 2022, asking about is that ever going to be a thing? Are we ever going to see one for iPad, one for iOS? Is there what's up with that? And this is where Ryan Lee Sipes, back in December of 2022, actually says, "Hey, Thunderbird project manager here. We're beginning to work on an iOS version of Thunderbird this upcoming year, being 2023 at the time. I can't say when it'll be ready to be released exactly, but if you follow us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, or Mastodon, we'll post an update there when we have nailed down the timeline." And nail it down, they did-ish. Jason Evangelo, a couple years later, in April of 2024 of this year, said, "It's difficult to give a progress report or ETA yet, aside from reconfirming that we're committed to an iOS version of Thunderbird. We need to get a solid and polished Thunderbird for Android published first," which they did. "In the meantime, we're currently hiring for a mobile manager, after which we'll start recruiting iOS developers. As things stand, I wouldn't expect to see any code until next year," meaning 2025, "but hopefully that flies by. We totally understand the demand for an iOS version." So we're getting there. We're getting there.
So Leo can have what I have in, next year sometime.
Peace of mind?
Well, I don't know if I have that.
Oh, not yet.
No,
Thunderbird is not the answer to everything in the universe.
Yeah, maybe not. But you can have Thunderbird for your mobile device, which is great. I have to give an update on that now that we're bringing it up. I have moved off of the beta, obviously, and onto the actual released version. And I can say it's great. A lot of people, I've been hearing things out there on other podcasts and whatnot of people that have been trying it. They're all like, what's the difference between that and K9? And I think if you had K9 and you just kind of teleported over into Thunderbird, basically importing all of your settings and everything, there's a lot you miss there in that process, because it just does it for you in the background. Mm-hmm. However, I think one of the real shining things is there's two things. One is the onboarding of different accounts at different places. I think the new Thunderbird app makes it better, easier. It just seems to integrate better, especially for things that like Gmail or even Outlook or Yahoo or whatever you got. Like the single sign-on stuff seems to get handled pretty great. And so I've been real happy with that, importing other accounts into my application on my phone. And I'd say the other thing that is nicer, at least in the released version, is the accessibility to your other accounts that you have in there. In K9, it wasn't quite the same. It was laid out differently, actually, from a UI standpoint. Whereas in the new Thunderbird app, it's just basically off to the left side and you drag it in and you can see all of your other accounts and you can select them real easy. So I think they've made some improvements there. So those are a couple of the differences. I'd say a lot of the differences are really subtle and a lot of it's just branding. But I think they've turned out a really polished product here. It was in beta for like a month, right? That's it.
Right.
And then a released version. And there were a couple little change things along the way, but really subtle stuff. And it's been good ever since I first put it on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm super happy. Yeah, I mentioned this in the other episode. I find it far better than the Gmail application, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah. Is it a feature thing? So what makes it better than Gmail in your eyes?
It focuses better on the mail itself rather than having all of the other whiz bang stuff that's happening in the Gmail app. And it gets you to the content easier. So like it turns off all of the images and stuff, like I said, the automatic image loading and whatnot. So loading your mail is much faster, at least as far as the messages.
Yeah, I like that.
Just little touches like that make it better.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I like a focus on mail. And I mean, I like it when mail focuses on text rather than images and stuff like that. If you want me to see images, just send me to a webpage, dude. But
yeah, I mean, a lot of them say you can open it in a browser anyway. So you can click on that.
Exactly, but and I mean, they can do their tracking pixel on that web page if they want or whatever. Just don't send it to my email. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Speaking of ick factor, I
Yeah.
don't like that.
But if
at
you're really
all.
okay with it, then you can obviously hit the button to load remote images too.
I'm not. That's why I want Thunderbird. That's one button that doesn't exist in the Apple Mail app that I know of, is the ability to not load that stuff by default. But I know Thunderbird makes a big deal of having that. And if I'm not in the desktop, it's enabled by default. I assume it would be on the phone as well.
It's pretty much the same on the phone. Yep.
Great.
It's very similar to the desktop experience. So if you like that, that's what you've got. I'll say the other thing is some of those things don't load, I'll say, completely on your screen in the Gmail application. Sometimes that stuff runs off to the side and it doesn't scale correctly.
Oh yeah,
because it doesn't format the web page correct.
Yeah.
In Thunderbird, you don't ever have that. It looks correct, even if you loaded the images. It still fits on the page.
Wow.
And it doesn't run off. So that's another thing that I like. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I dig that too. Yeah. So I can't wait. In the meantime, though, Bill from Linux OTC sent me over a Samsung device. It's a little on the older side, but as far as I can tell, it'll run Android apps. So this is something that I'm going to poke at and really kind of play around with and see how well it runs. I mean, on a 10-year-old device, how bad could it possibly be? I don't know. Let's find out. We'll dive into it and figure it out. But that leads us to the next email, actually, which is a question that I've been asking, and I'm still asking, though it looks like a path.
You're settling down just a bit. Yeah.
It seems like there's one recommendation that I keep hearing over and over and over again. So, Chris, on that question, said he would recommend a Pixel phone. Very little bloat except Google, which is what Android is anyways, or you can use Graphene OS. The Pixel 7 is usually pretty affordable on Amazon, and now that the 9 is out, the 8 series might be coming down in price as well. And if you watched the last live stream, you would know that that's exactly the one that I'm looking at on Chris's recommendation, as well as there's been a good handful of people that just say Pixel. And it's just something that gets echoed over and over and over. You guys really like your Pixel devices. And so,
I think they're easy to flash. So that's one thing. So
well, that helps.
Yeah.
It'll help with longevity. When Google decides it no longer is supported or whatever, I can continue messing around with it at least. And somebody might support it and backport some of that Google junk. So,
these latest devices they're saying they're supported for 5 years, 7 years? How long?
Yeah.
Like a long time, right?
They're getting Apple length support
they are.
now, and I mean that's a big reason why I went to Apple phones, because I don't have to think about it. Don't make me think about how long this thing is gonna get. It's gonna be as long as I have my phone. That's great.
It's insane.
It's fantastic that Android's getting the same thing.
Yeah, it is great. I guess the other recommendation that keeps coming up in a few spots is actually the Samsung stuff too.
Yep. The S, I think we looked at the S22. The S25 is what's current, right? Something like that.
So it's 22, 23, somewhere around there, I think. Yeah.
Right. And so for about the same price as a Pixel 7a, you can get the Samsung. I'm stuck on S22, but it might be the S23 that we looked at on the live stream. But
I can't remember. It was one of the two.
But they were very comparable. I mean, they came out in the same about the same time.
Right.
But the last time I used a Samsung device was around the Note 3. I can't say. I didn't like TouchWiz back then. That was the Samsung interface. I don't know if it's still called that or not. I didn't like it back then. Oh man, I did everything I possibly could to try and minimize my interaction with it, but you just can't get away from it.
Right.
And that one I think was locked, and I missed the window.
You couldn't have another launcher?
Well, I could have another launcher, but I couldn't have another interface. And there was apparently a window when Samsung was handing out the keys to unlock that so that I could flash something else on it, but I missed that window, so I could never unlock it, right? I guess they threw away the keys?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the
Anyway,
newer ones are better about that. You can totally
right.
flash them to something else if you wanted to.
Yeah. Neil, he was on the live stream with us. Neil Gompa mentioned that ever since they moved over to, maybe it was Snapdragon or Exynos, I can't remember. They made a change in hardware that
They did.
made them more open to the extra flashing stuff and everything else.
Right.
So they're in a much better spot than they were when I was messing with the Samsung stuff. But I got away from Samsung specifically because of that.
Yeah,
and
it
I
was
just
locked in. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like TouchWiz. But I went to a Nexus device. A couple of Nexuses back to back. I think I had the 5 and then the 7 or 6P. I can't remember which one it was.
Okay.
But those were the last Android devices before I moved over to Apple junk.
So that should be somewhat similar then. If you're getting a Pixel, it's going to be close-ish.
Yeah. So Pixel 7a or the Samsung equivalent, I can't remember the number. That is very, very possible. Very possible. So we'll see how that goes. So Chaos R3V on our Alpine episode way back in, I want to say season 2. I should have looked.
That's way back there. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have looked. I didn't look. But a while ago, just Google up Linux user space Alpine. You'll find it. But they responded back, Juniper Olive is FreeBSD.
Which is cool.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact statement that I made, but it was something to the effect of Juniper feels very Linuxy to me, or very Unixy to me.
Unixy, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so we get more info. So FreeBSD, it turns out. So Chaos goes on to say, yep, ages ago, before things like GNS3, I was studying to do JNCIS and other certs, so I'd have a home lab with various things, including a Junos Olive. It was pretty good to try various scenarios despite the few limitations. Search preparing VirtualBox in FreeBSD for Juniper Olive and see an example from Swim. So
that's really cool.
That is really cool, man. I think I might actually do that because I'm a network nerd. We don't.
Same.
Yeah, we don't really bring that to this show a whole lot, but man, I don't mind a command line on a switch and setting up security per port, stuff like that. I mean, that stuff is just really cool. It's very structured. I like the peace and zen that it gives you when there's very few things you can possibly do. You just set it up right, and then you never think about it again for 8 years besides security patches. Just reboot the thing, and it'll just hum along forever.
Yep, you're talking my jam. That's kind of how, that pushed me to use more Linux was doing network stuff. So yeah, not that I wasn't using it before, but it definitely pushed me in that direction. So
yeah,
they go hand in hand.
Yeah, I think that was it too, right? I mean, my one of the first professional instances where I had to use the command line was Cisco stuff, was having to actually configure some of the switches that we were deploying and then verify that their configurations were correct in lots and lots of ways. We ended up getting some automated deployment stuff later on, but at the time, we were hand configuring these things. I mean, we had configuration files, you could drop them on there, but you would have to go in and hand verify that everything got imported exactly the way that it needed to be, right? And then you'd go physically deploy that stuff. And that's another form of Zen. Have you ever had a 48 port switch and you go rack it up and then you meticulously, this one goes
patch
here,
them all in.
This one goes here, this one goes here. And then, and then you have that panic moment later on where you're like, oh God, I swapped 47 and 48,
Yeah.
Oh no.
Whoops, Sadoodle.
Yeah. But yeah, man, there's just a lot of Zen in doing a lot of that stuff. So I have a real soft spot for that kind of stuff. But I grew up in Cisco, so Juniper was foreign to me when I finally got my hands on a couple of Juniper switches, but it wasn't too terribly foreign.
No, it's similar. Yeah,
it had the feel of a Cisco command line, but it looked like a Linux command line, and it was some kind of weird mixture of the two. But it was fun to learn on it. I really, really enjoyed it, and it's just really cool to know that it's a BSD. It's built off of FreeBSD. It's really cool, man.
That is cool.
So maybe one day we'll have a networking user space, but.
Maybe. I mean, I that's kind of my jam. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of different switches, honestly, and use the command line interface that they provide. And I can tell you, there's a lot of similarities, but there's some that are really different. And I've done, at least 5 or 6 different switch brands and different interfaces. And I think once you get the basics down, you can obviously translate it into the other ones. It's a lot like learning programming languages. I'm not gonna lie.
It really kind of is, right? It's like Bash,
Mhm.
just kind of once you learn the structure, once you learn how to poke it right, it'll behave the way you want it to. Sometimes you got to go check out that manual to figure out the weird way they do this one thing, and why, God, do you call it something different? Why?
Typically, universally, tab and question mark are your friend.
Yes. Oh man, that's actually, I had that question in Linux. I know the general answer as to why we don't do it, but so in Cisco, in a lot of the interfaces, when you're typing out a command and you don't know what comes next, you can use the question mark to kind of give you a list of things that you could possibly use coming up. And when you run out of those options, it'll typically give you the format of the answer that it needs.
Right.
So, like A.B.C.D for an IP address or something like that, right?
Right.
I always kind of wondered how come there isn't helpers like that in Linux. I know about
There's a
tab
few things
complete
that help you. Yeah.
You can double tab and it'll give you, and Fish actually is pretty close to what I would want.
Giving you suggestions. Yeah.
Yeah. So Fish kind of solves that problem for me, but I find myself on a bash prompt more often than anything else. So could there be a question?
You get those add-on packages that kind of do some of that stuff too, right? We've talked about some of those. Like I think Apropos is kind of a thing that could help you with that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. TLDR has been my stand-in
TLDR
for that.
Is another one. Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's my go-to. I recommend this to absolutely anybody that's learning Linux. Because right when you're getting into Linux, like man pages are baby.
Yep.
Info pages are slightly more verbose. Sometimes they explain a little bit better. Apropos is a good one as well.
It's not bad.
TLDR really kind of cuts through the static.
Yeah, it gives you those examples that you want. Yeah.
Exactly. Here's how you would use it if you want to do this. Put it together like this. And man, that really cuts through the noise and allows you to start using the thing instead of reading about the thing. And I think both is what you need to understand
Exactly. But oftentimes you forget which thing goes before the other one.
Yeah.
How do I gotta put all that together?
Aren't you? You're talking about tar.
Tar is a good one.
That Russell Monroe XKCD, man,
adding groups to users. Like I always mess that up. I put the group
user
first?
goes at the end.
Yeah, but I know, but right? I mean, it's a thing. You got to have a reminder on that.
Well, I know that because I've been slapped in the face too many times with it,
Sure.
so I just can't get it out of my head anymore. But you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, TLDR is a good way to remember how to do that thing at a glance. Just real quick, here you go. Here's an example. Use that. And man, it's just so good. It's so worth installing it on your system and having it. Just to give you that little push of don't forget. But case in point, it's that XKCD Russell Monroe comic where they bring the Linux admin in front of a nuclear warhead because it's about to explode.
Yeah.
And it says, you have 10 seconds to write a tar command, a valid tar command with no mistakes. Good luck. And then the admin's like, I'm so sorry.
The end of the world is now.
Yeah. But what's funny is I can't remember exactly the command that he gave, but Carlos in the Telegram channel mentioned that you could use like tar -- help or something like that. And technically it's a valid command. But I was like, you know what? If we're talking nuclear warhead as the consequence of this, I'm going to guess that's not going to be valid for their purposes.
That's not what they're looking for. No.
They're not going to let you off like that, man. But yeah, Juniper Olive, how cool. How cool is that?
Definitely.
So our last bit of feedback, Stan said, can you install 2 OSs on the same hard drive? I hear Windows may not play nicely if you install Linux on the same hard drive. Is Mint your choice still, or is Ubuntu better? How are they different? So super quick.
A lot to unpack there. Yeah.
A lot to unpack, but we'll do it quickly and succinctly.
I think we can.
Dan, go.
Yes.
I'll give it to you because I'll just keep talking.
No, really, the answer is yes. You can install 2 operating systems on the same hard drive, and you can have Windows and Linux on the same one. You can totally even do it. You don't even need a separate drive, although that sometimes simplifies things a little bit.
I would recommend a separate drive.
I agree. Listen, before you start any of this, download RescueZilla and make a copy of your system.
Oh, yes.
Do it. RescueZilla is easy. It's a graphical thing. It has CloneZilla on the underpinnings, if you will. So it's making an actual copy. It'll copy your EFI partition. And so that you can just splat it all back out there. You can make an ISO that you can just put it all back on if things go wrong. And so do that to save yourself. That's something I'm going to recommend. Also, back up your stuff another way, like all your documents. Maybe put those on some cloud storage, or even a USB disk is fine. Like just get your documents. Make sure you got those too. Now that you're backed up, we can start tinkering on your system.
Right. There you go. Be safe about it. I would recommend a second disk. Windows tends to mess your bootloader up less if you have Linux living elsewhere than on the same than in the same boot partition as Windows. So basically, if you were to use Linux Mint or Ubuntu and you're booting in and it's like, hey, do you want us to install this alongside Windows? It is super easy to do. You just next kind of on through it, make sure it's the right size that you want. But it puts the bootloader in the same place that Windows puts its bootloader. And sometimes when Windows does big updates, it's like, ew, what's this?
Sometimes.
Delete. And, and then it just makes it Windows again. And so your Linux is fine. There's nothing wrong with your Linux, but the bootloader that gets you into Linux gets borked up, and you have to fix it with something like RescueZilla, or, you could even use the Ubuntu ISO that you used to boot off of in the first place.
Yeah, there's tools to repair your bootloader, all of that stuff. Absolutely.
Right. So I hear Windows may not play nicely. That can be the case.
That's where that comes in.
And that's why I recommend putting it on a second disk. If you can do it. Like if you don't have a second spot for a disk, then you have to put it on the same disk. But
like if you're just starting out and you really just want to experiment, do some stuff, I think even a cheap SSD or something that you can install. I think do I have one right here?
$15, man. Get you a small one.
I don't know. Yeah, what are these things? These guys right here. They're cheap.
You just have a stack of those over there?
It's a T-Force. No, it's an empty box.
Oh, okay. Man, I thought Dan seriously had a stack of drives that he just pulls out anytime he needs to do anything with.
I might as well. These were like $25. They're cheap.
Dude,
right? It's a 256. It's not huge.
Yeah.
But it's enough to get your OS on there. And if you just want to tinker around, trying to learn Linux a little bit, that's a great way to learn.
Yep.
Honestly, if you just wanted to like totally save your Windows and you only have one drive, take the one out and just put this in for a while and play around with Linux. Then you can put Windows back.
That's exactly what I do on my framework. I mean, granted, the framework is super easy to open up and super easy to get to everything.
Yeah, some are easier than others, yeah.
Yeah, but just swap out the NVMe. Put in my Linux one, swap that out, put in the Windows one. I've got external drives that I could use. I even have the disk that you slot in, and that works just fine too. But I like having the speed of the NVMe, so I'll swap it in and out.
You totally can have both. Just no problem. There's a way.
Yep, absolutely. So to the other question, is Mint your choice or is Ubuntu better? How are they different? Mint's still my choice, just because it's easy to come from Windows to Mint. The interface is very, very familiar, so you're not going to be totally lost. Like, you'll have an idea of where everything is. How are they different? They're underneath the hood. They're not. The desktop itself is Cinnamon. So, that will obviously be...
Well, that's Windows-like. And obviously Ubuntu is GNOME. So that's a little different. It's unique. It's its own thing.
Right.
So
they're not very different. Under the hood, they're pretty much the same exact thing. Don't worry about it. Just run your updates. You'll be good.
Yeah, I'd say either Mint or Ubuntu. I don't know about better or worse. It's all what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
That's
Try
the better
both.
one. The one that you're more comfortable with is the better one. I think there's tools that come with Mint that are kind of nice for the new user. You know, but Ubuntu does too. They've got some great stuff.
Right.
You know, I think especially with this latest release, 24.10, they're hitting their stride on some of those things. Like the installer is coming a little better now, and all those other Flutter apps like the store stuff. I think that's coming along a little better. So little steady improvements with those things to make it easy. But Mint's had those things, you know, for quite a while. I mean, so they've been using the tried and true Ubiquity for their installer, but they have software updaters, and their software store is real solid. I think you shouldn't have too much of an issue with those. So to answer your ultimate question, I don't know if there's a right choice or a wrong choice. I think just get out there, try it, figure out what thing works best for you, and that's the one you should use.
Yep, absolutely.
So that brings us to next time, Leo. Next time, we really do hope to dive into the history of snaps and snap packaging.
I think we're clear.
As long as the world doesn't conspire and take out the Internet Archive again.
Pretty much.
We'll be good.
I think we're in the clear. So I think I have the ability to do it. I don't think I'm stepping on any toes by doing it. So, yeah, I'm going to once again bank on doing snaps history.
If not, we'll let you know. We'll have something else exciting. Yep. I have no doubt about it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
In the meantime, you know, drop us a few thoughts and give us some ideas that we can cram into the show or the next show. So in between, you can catch us on, you know, all the social places. But do give us your suggestions and get, you know, involved in the conversation so that we can, you know, have some feedback to talk about.
That's right. That's right.
All the links in the show notes are at linuxuserspace.show. So, Leo, where can we find you?
Oh, you can find me over at Leo Chavez at mastodon.social or on the old blue skies at Leo Chavez over there.
All right, and you can find me at KC2BEZ at mastodon.social or Monetary Abyss at the blue sky.
The old money pit.
And always, you can find at Linux User Space at all of the places. You know, Mastodon, Twitter, Instagram even.
Ooh.
You know, we've got that too. Anyway, check us out. Give us some feedback. Come back in 2 weeks for more Linux User Space. See ya.
Bye. Oh, we made it.
We
made
totally
it.
Did.
I don't know if my video made it. I don't know why it would be an option in here if the video were still recording.
It hadn't stopped, right? Yeah.
We'll see. I'll see how much I got. Hopefully it was...
Well, it seems like most of it, 99% of it even.
Well, yeah, if it died when I think it might have died, I'll check here in a minute, then, you know, most of the show will be good quality, and then I'll swap out for the backup there, but...
Too much heat?
Well, and that's what I was thinking, right? Like, overheating did actually cross my mind as a reason why, but... I mean, it's been fine. Like, it's done a 3-hour video before and not had an issue. So,
well, let's hope it held out.
Yeah, I'm sure. But well, for most of it anyway. But if not, man, that's the incentive I needed to hop over.
Get the other camera that you got sitting there.
That's right. But yeah, I got to do a lot of testing with that because the cool thing about the phone is that it does a lot of color correction and it does a lot of that kind of stuff. Automatically, the camera will do some of that stuff, but you have to be a lot more meticulous with it. So yeah, I guess we'll see.